Hello everyone, my name is Jasin. Today I'm going to present about a programming project called a Mastermind Computer Game. I will start from demonstrating the code and the user interface. So these are the code, these are the variables, and these are the functions. And here is to display a welcome message and informations to the user. When come to this part, the computer will ask if the user want to start the game. If the confirmation is equal to Y, will then start this while loop. Once user enter into this while loop, set game over checker equals to false and yes equal to 0. Then we have this for loop to randomize 4 shape as the model answer. Then the user will come to this second while loop. At this time, the guess will plus 1 to start a new attempt. And here, set correct answer equal to model answer, correct answer in correct place equal to 0, and correct answer into wrong place equal to 0. And this dot clear here is to empty the user answer. Then the user can start to enter their choice here. And at this part is to print their answer and also call these two functions to return the number of correct answer in correct place and the correct answer but in wrong place. If the correct answer in correct place is not equal to 4, we'll then return to the second while loop and start a new attempt. However, if the correct answer in correct place is equal to 4, the game over checker will equal to true and end this while loop. After print this, at here the computer will ask if the user want to play again, and if the confirmation is equal to Y, we'll re-enter into the first while loop. And now I'm going to demonstrate the user interface. First, a welcome message will be displayed to the user and followed by an instructions of how to play the game as well as the game rules. Under the game rules, the user is told to only enter the first alphabet of shapes. For example, P, R, T, C. And the shapes entered can also be repeated. For example, your first choice can be C and your second choice can be C as well. Then the user will be asked if they are ready. If yes, enter Y. If no, enter N. If the user enter N, then the game will end here and show see you next time. However, if the user enter Y, the program will show let's start. Now the user can enter their answer. For example, here I already know the model answer is RRRP, so I enter RRRP. Then the game will end here and show the number of correct answer in correct place and the correct answer in wrong place. And down here will also show congratulations warrior, you did it, as well as the number of guesses taken by the user. And at the end, it will ask if the user want to play it again. Next, I will demonstrating the error handling and the data validation. The first example here is when the input entered by the user is not equal to Y or N. For example, they enter C. The computer will then ask them to re-enter again until they enter the valid input, for example, Y. Then they can start to play the game now. The next example here is when the user enter the invalid answer to their choice. For example, if they enter 1 or B, the computer will then show that the answer is invalid and they need to enter again until the answer is valid. For example, C. Then they can continue to enter the second choice. That's all for my demonstrating, and now come back to my slide. I have shown my user interface and the example of error handling here. Next is the programming technique, logic, and control flow. For input and display data, here is the first example. The input function is used to prompt for the user input, while the second example is the print function, which is used to display the data for user. Then we have two lists here. The first one is shape list, which is a list of possible shapes for computer to select, and the second one is empty list, which is a list to store data. Next, for the random choice from a list, I have imported this library to generate random shapes, and the second one is used to tell the program to randomize 4 shapes. Next is the if statement. The first example is if the user enter N for confirmation, it will display see you next time. The second example is if the user have entered 2 correct answers that are in the correct place, it will display correct answer in correct place is 2. Then the third example is if the user have guesses all the 4 shapes correctly, it will display congratulations warrior, you did it, which means the game is end now. Finally, the last example is if one of the answer entered by the user is equal to the model answer, but it is in the wrong place, it will then display correct answer in wrong place is equal to 1. Next, come to the relational operators. The first example is if the user enter Y, the game will then start. The second example is if the user enter other than Y or N, it will then display please enter Y or N and keep looping until the user enter the correct answer. The third one is if the user enter N, the game will then end. Now come to the next example is if the user have entered all the correct answer in the correct place, the game will end here as the game has done by the user. Well, if the answer entered by the user is not at the correct place or the correct answer is in the wrong place, the total number of guesses will increase followed by the number of time the answer is entered. And the last example is if the answer entered by the user is not P, C, R, or T, it will keep looping until the user enter the correct answer. The last operator here is logical operator. One of the example is when the user not enter Y and N, the program will display please enter Y or N and keep looping until the user enter the correct answer. And the other example is if the answer entered by the user is not P, C, R, and T, it will keep looping until the user enters the correct answer. Next, we come to the while loop. The first while loop here is to check if the user input is valid. If it is not, it will ask the user to re-enter the input. The second while loop is to check if the game is over. If not, it will start a new attempt. And finally, the last while loop here is also to check if the user input is valid. Now, for for loop, the first example is to calculate the number of correct answer in correct place and the correct answer in wrong place. While the next example is to ask the computer to repeat 4 times to generate 4 random shapes as the model answer. Finally, we have come to the user-defined function. It is a subprogram that performs a specific task and also for the programmer to call the functions by name when needed. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.